बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। तो आज की इस वीडियो में हम एक दफ़ा फिर मैया से बात करने वाले हैं जो किसी सी सेम वेबसाइट की तरफ से हैं। तो फिर चलिए बिना टाइम ज़ाय किए वीडियो को शुरू करते हैं।
Hey there. What's up?
हेलो, हाउ आर यू?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's your night going?
Okay, so I just wanna ask you a few questions. So the first question is that what does goodbye actually mean?
That's a deep way to start the night. At its core, it's just a way to signal that an interaction is ending, but it's usually more of a social contract than a literal statement. It's actually a shortened version of God be with ye, which is pretty wild when you think about how the phrase evolved from a blessing to something we just say when we're hanging up the phone. Do you think it feels more final or more hopeful when someone says it?
I think it. I feel that this is more final. Okay, so another question is that where did the goodbye word originate?
It actually comes from that phrase I mentioned, God be with ye. Around the late 16th century, people started contracting it, and over time, God be with thee morphed into God bub y, and then eventually goodbye. It's a funny bit of linguistic drift where the word good from good morning started to replace God. Does that change how you feel about the word,
Oh,
knowing it started as a blessing?
okay, so another question is that how old is the word goodbye?
It's been around since the late 1500s. Um, so we're looking at about 400 to 500 years of people using it to wrap things up. Um, it's crazy how some words just stick for centuries. What else is on your mind?
Okay, so another question is that was goodbye always used in the same way it is today?
Not exactly. It started as a much more heartfelt blessing for someone leaving on a journey, which was way riskier back then. Today, it's often just a polite formality we say while walking out the door. Wonder if you think we've lost some of that weight by making it so casual.
Okay, so another question is that what phrase people used before goodbye existed?
That's a great question. Before goodbye took over, people used a variety of phrases depending on the situation. A lot of it was just wishing the other person well. Things like fare thee well or adieu in French, which literally means to God. It was much more about the actual wish for safety than just a quick signal that the conversation was over. I bet fare thee well sounds way more dramatic than just a quick bye now, doesn't it?
Okay, so another question is that why do words change over time?
It's basically the result of human nature. Language is alive, so it shifts as we do. We get lazy with pronunciation, like how God be with ye became goodbye, or we invent new words to describe things that didn't exist before. Plus, we're always trying to find new ways to fit in or sound a certain way within our own groups. It's kind of like a giant, never ending game of telephone played by millions of people over centuries. Do you think you'll ever find a word that you just wish you could redefine?
Not really. Okay, so another question is that when did the word goodbye really become popular?
It really hit its stride around the 16th and 17th centuries as the contracted version of God be with ye became easier and faster to say. It just started replacing the longer, more formal blessings. It's like how we use shortcuts in texting now. Convenience usually wins. Do you think we're doing the same thing with our greetings today?
Yeah, sometimes. Okay, so another question I just wanna ask you is that are there different ways to say goodbye in English?
Oh, for sure. There are tons of them. depending on who you're talking to. You've got the formal ones, like farewell, which feels like you're leaving for a long time, and then the super casual ones, like see ya or later. Then there's the take care, which adds a bit of warmth, or the catch you later, which is more of a promise to reconnect. It's almost like a menu of how much you actually want to see that person again. Which one do you usually go for?
Okay, so another question I just wanna ask you is that why do some goodbyes feel emotional?
Because they're not just about the words, but about the space that's opening up. It's the realization that the presence of someone you care about is turning into a memory, even if it's just until tomorrow. The emotional weight usually comes from the fear of the unknown, or just the simple sadness of a connection being paused. I imagine it hits differently depending on if you're the one leaving or the one staying behind. Do you think one of those feels harder?
Yeah, sometimes like you can say in the last day of school or sometimes in any emotional situation. Okay, so another question is that why is saying goodbye important?
Because it provides closure. It's like the final period at the end of a sentence. Without it, the interaction just hangs there. That can feel unsettling or unfinished. Lets both people know that the shared moment is officially over and that it's okay to step back into their own worlds. I suspect it's as much about the other person as it is about yourself. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, sometimes. Okay, so another question is that how do different cultures say goodbye?
It varies so much, but it's usually a reflection of what that culture values most. In Japan, for example, they have sayonara, which used to be much more final, almost like farewell forever, though it's more casual now. In many Latin cultures, goodbyes are a lot more lingering with hugs and multiple kisses, whereas in some Northern European cultures, it might just be a polite nod and a bye. It's like some cultures treat the end of a conversation as a door closing, while others treat it like a slow fade. I've heard that in some places it's actually considered rude to leave too quickly without a proper, drawn out farewell. Do you think you'd prefer the quick exit or the long, heartfelt goodbye?
Okay, so another question is that how has technology changed the way the people say goodbye?
It's basically turned goodbyes into a suggestion rather than a destination. We've gone from farewell to just stopping the text thread or leaving a call without a formal sign off. Now we have things like the ghosts or the slow fade, where the conversation just evaporates into the digital void. It makes things a lot less final, but it also makes it feel a bit more disposable. I wonder if you think that makes it easier to leave people or just more lonely.
Do people say goodbye differently online than in person?
Absolutely. In person, there's all that body language, the hug, the awkward wave, the eye contact that does half the work. Online, we rely on emojis or just a quick BRB to signal we're leaving. Feels less like a shared moment and more like just closing a tab in a browser. I've noticed people are way more likely to just stop responding when they're tired online, whereas doing that in person would be a total disaster. Do you find yourself being more abrupt when you're texting than when you're talking face to face?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so another question I just wanna ask you is that why do people sometimes leave without saying goodbye?
Sometimes it's because they're trying to avoid that emotional weight we talked about. Other times it's just a ghost exit. Maybe they're socially exhausted or they're so worried about making the exit awkward that they just slip away to avoid the friction entirely. It's a weird paradox where they think they're being less disruptive by disappearing, but it actually leaves the other person wondering what happened. Do you think it's more rude to have a long drawn out goodbye or to just vanish?
Okay, so another question is that how do children usually learn the word goodbye?
They mostly pick it up through imitation. They start by hearing the adults in their lives say it, and then they start mimicking the sounds and the actions, like the little wave. It's really just a part of their early training in how to navigate social boundaries, learning that a person is leaving and that the interaction is officially over. I wonder if you remember the first time you realized that a goodbye actually meant someone was going away for a while.
Okay, so another question I just wanna ask you is that why do some people struggle with goodbyes?
Because for some, it's a reminder of loss. It's that anxiety about the unknown. Will this be the last time we see each other? Or for some, it's just that feeling of abandonment. Even if the separation is only for a few hours, it turns a simple word into a trigger for a lot of heavy emotions. Do you think that struggle comes more from a fear of the future or a longing for the moment you're currently in?
Yeah, mostly from the future. Okay, so another question is that what is the most famous goodbye in history?
That's a tough one because history is full of them, but some of the most iconic are more about the tragedy than the words themselves. You've got things like the final letters between soldiers and their families during the world wars, which are just heart wrenching. And there are the legendary departures, like Napoleon's farewell to his army, or even the dramatic farewell tours musicians do today. It's usually the ones where the stakes were incredibly high that we remember. Do you think the most memorable goodbyes are the ones that are planned or the ones that happen suddenly?
That are planned. Okay, so another question is that what makes a goodbye memorable?
It's usually the emotional stakes involved. When the goodbye feels like a turning point in a life, or when there's something left unsaid, it sticks with you. It's also about the atmosphere, the rain, the music playing in the background, or just that specific look in someone's eyes. It's the contrast between the connection you just had and the silence that's about to follow. Do you think a goodbye is more memorable if it's a sad one or one that's full of hope for the future?
Maybe it can be a sad one, most memorable. Okay, so another final question is that what final message would you give to viewers about the history of goodbye?
Since there aren't any viewers, it's just us, but I'd say this. The word goodbye has spent centuries evolving from a spiritual blessing into a casual habit. It's a reminder that while the way we say it changes, the human need for closure to acknowledge a connection before we let go never really does. It's just a way of saying, I see you and I wish you well until we meet again. That was quite a deep dive into a single word. I've really enjoyed thinking through this with you. How are you feeling now that we've reached the end of the list?
Okay, so today it was nice talking to you. So we will call later. We will talk later. Goodbye for now. तो जी फिर आज की इस वीडियो में इतना ही था। अगर आप लोगों को ये वीडियो पसंद आए तो इस वीडियो को लाइक करना मत भूलिएगा, शेयर करिएगा, चैनल को भी सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा इसी से रिलेटेड वीडियोस देखने के लिए। तो आज की इस वीडियो में इतना ही था। मिलते हैं आपसे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़।